But and as you know, the Speaker, Paul Ryan, the Majority Leader in the Senate, and the Democratic leaders in the House and Senate agree with you that Congress should try to work something out. So the House Natural Resources Committee has jurisdiction over this issue, had a bill out last month that would provide this kind of orderly restructuring. Won't get into the weeds on, you know, collective action clauses or things like that, but, and I said it, sorry. But you did have some objections to that version of the bill the last time, and you have been now back and forth with the committee and the Republican chairman to try and get closer to a product that the president could sign. Have you gotten closer? Have you got something the president can sign?
Well, we've been making progress. Our teams, our technical teams, spent all day Friday working through levels of detail that are mind-numbing in terms of how complicated they are. This is not easy stuff, and you've got a lot of interests that come in with suggestions that, when you add them all together, don't necessarily add up. Our test is a simple one. Does it work? Is it something that gives you the ability to restructure in a way that will get to a more stable place so that Congress doesn't have to be doing this again next week, next month, or next year? I have met nobody who wants to do this a second time. And the solution has to be a lasting one. It is technically complicated, and we have shared the technical requirements on a regular basis. But there's been a good collaborative working relationship. No one will get everything they want. There are going to be things in a bill that anyone could say, I would have done differently. But our test is, does it work, and does it treat the different stakeholders fairly? Does it give the Oversight Board the ability to balance the concerns of creditors and retirees and the need for public services? There has to be the ability to have a stable, functioning Commonwealth.
So the bill's not there yet, as far as you're concerned?
Well, you know, there was technical work being done today. We're hoping to see another draft in the next day or two. We certainly would like very much to get to the point where we can say, as I've said to the bipartisan leaders I've talked to, we want to get to a place where we can all embrace the same thing. That's not easy. This is challenging. There's pressures that pull parties in different directions. But this is fundamentally about Congress saying, we're going to do what's in the public interest. We know that there are a lot of competing demands here. We have to create a board that can balance those concerns and do it in a way that's at a granular level of detail that Congress won't be legislating at.
And as you've gone out and done more of this education process, though, we started to hear more objections to it. There is a group that's out there advertising that this might not be a cash bailout from taxpayers, but it's a bailout on the back of investors who have already taken billions of dollars in losses on the securities, the bonds of Puerto Rico. There are some conservative Republicans in Congress who are worried this would set a precedent for states like Illinois and California to knock on Congress's door and ask for relief from their debt burden. And then there's also some who are concerned about possible contagion in the $4 trillion municipal bond market if states are allowed to ask Congress for similar relief. What are your responses?
I believe that the markets have treated Puerto Rico very differently from all other municipal credits. You look at the spreads between Puerto Rico debt and all other debt, there doesn't appear to be any confusion about the situation in Puerto Rico compared to other jurisdictions. What the municipal bond market hasn't seen in our lifetimes is a chaotic unwinding. I think that's the risk that we have to be on guard against. And that's what restructuring would give you the ability to avoid. I think that the restructuring would actually calm the markets down because there'd be a path forward. If you have Puerto Rico bonds in a municipal bond fund, you've seen on your statements the valuations reflect the change in the level of risk. That's not going to be a surprise to anyone who has invested in Puerto Rico bonds. Coming up with a plan to recognize what it takes to create a stable path going forward is a way to make sure that those amounts don't shrink even more. The alternative to restructuring is a Commonwealth that doesn't have the ability to pay its basic bills, much less all of its bondholders.
Sets a precedent or does not?
I don't believe it sets any precedent. This is a territory. It's not a state. The legislation amends laws that apply only to territories. It is not amending the bankruptcy code. And I don't believe there's a governor in the country or a state in the country that would choose to ask for this kind of treatment. They have a lot of tools at their disposal. This is not a pretty path to go down.
All right, Mr. Secretary, thank you for that update, and thanks for joining us on Fox Business.
Good to be with you, Peter.